Simplicity is, I think, the best thing you can do when building a home.
Dual story layouts seem to be having a real moment.
On a design point of view, I think that multi-gen is going to really skyrocket.
Building a home is a really big deal. There are many design decisions to be made, and not all of them are straightforward. When you make the decision to design and build your own home, where do you even start? In partnership with Homeworld, I'm here with Frank Grippaudo from Fowler Homes and Nathan Klein from McDonald Jones Homes, who have both spent years working with buyers to design homes to let them live their best life and increase that value. Thanks both so much for joining me. I'm absolutely obsessed with home design. I'm always creating some sort of new Pinterest board of a different look, so I'm really excited for this episode. Nathan, I want to start with you first, because when you meet with a client and you begin working on their home, designing their home, what is your first piece of advice?
Look, there are so many things to navigate. When you're building in your home, there's so much that you need to be aware of with the land. There's so much you need to be aware of in terms of restrictions and the home design, compliance and setbacks. So the most important thing to do is to talk to an expert.
Frank, what's your mantra, or I guess your best tip, when it does come to that design and that overall floor plan?
I think it's listening to what the client wants and the family needs of the home and how they interact in the home. And that's a sort of a starting base. And then from there, it's designing the home around the needs and requirements of the family and the budget, like Nathan said.
Yeah, I love that advice, because you are so right. Like, at the end of the day, you need to create a home that is going to work best for the way that you live your life. Let's dive into the design trends and what we're seeing on realestate.com.au, and let's see if they track with your expert knowledge. Frank, you've been in the building game for a long time. Was multi-gen living, was it even a consideration when you started your career?
I think it's definitely boomed the last 5-10 years. And I think that comes down to certain cultures living together.
Well, immigration, I think, has played a big part in that.
That's right. Our aging population. Mm-hmm. So they'd like a bedroom downstairs or a self-contained granny flat in the home. And we're seeing that more and more and more. So yeah, 25 years ago, didn't really see it as much. But now it's a must to have. It's basically the cost constraints and affordability is a big issue.
Yeah, I think the affordability piece is like one of the major ones.
Yeah, I was going to say that the affordability is the reason for it. You know, it is really difficult to get a block of land now. It's difficult to do something. And when people have that size and the space on the land, even if they don't, they want to maximize it. They want to make sure that there's enough space for the entire family.
Yeah, and to that point, like, multi-generational living doesn't actually mean that people want to live on top of each other. So, Frank, what are the key design features that allow people to have that, but also live that freedom?
I guess it's having separate living zones. So whether it's a home cinema or a living room separate to the family room, having those separate rooms or a rumpus room, a leisure upstairs on the first floor, it gives families space to not
they can all
congregate.
Kind of go and do what they want.
That's right.
So I imagine that you have to choose a design feature like multi-gen living right from the start. Is that right? Or is this something that you can consider later on in the piece?
It'd have to be right at the start. Compliance is a huge issue. Well, so it's something that you really need to ensure that the home complies with the setbacks and the requirements of the council codes and or CDC. So it definitely would have to be on the outset.
Now, I'm no builder, but does it also have something to do with, say, laying the slab? Plumbing, electricity, making sure that if you do want to have that multi-gen living space, you've got enough electricity to go to over there and enough plumbing to go to that second bathroom.
That's the critical piece, right?
Yeah.
Planning from the start is so important. And, with project builders like both of ours, you really need to prep and plan from the beginning, because once you sign off on those plans, you want to be lodging to council, you want to be getting to site as soon as possible. You don't want to be making those changes later.
Yeah.
So it needs to be something that you're very clear on at the beginning on what you want to do. And then we can help to, get you to achieve what you're after. But that's all, the provisions and things that you need to put in. Some people put in second kitchens. Those things need to be planned for, because it's very difficult to do later on.
Yeah.
And very expensive to do later on as well. We're seeing, yes, a lot more bedrooms, yes, a lot more rooms for people to stay, but it's so critical as well for certain cultures to have their own bathrooms. Certain cultures don't want to share bathrooms, so each individual member of the house needs to have their own.
Yep.
We're seeing the introduction of prayer rooms a lot of the time as well.
Yeah, wow.
Just a designated space where people can sit and pray, which can also double as meditation rooms for people in other cultures and nationalities. So it's such a wide, diverse topic.
One of the best parts about building a new home, Nathan, is that you do get to make it your own. We're seeing at realestate.com.au is a clear trend towards customization. Now, when people head to Homeworld and visit your display homes, what sort of things are they looking to customise?
It depends on the person. Some people have built before. Other people are doing it for the very first time, and so they're needing us to guide them and help them. Realistically, customization is really the main appeal of building your own home. Otherwise, you'd go and get existing real estate. But you have the choice, and most people are aware that they have the choice on design. They have the choice on their colors, their styles, their inclusions, and that really is the appeal. And even customizing to that degree is pretty powerful and something that's pretty special. But realistically, we see people, we've got over 300 designs, right? So it can be quite a lot. And there's always something for somebody to start with, but we still see people tweaking it and changing things to make it really personal to them, individualizing it. We see extensions to key spaces like al fresco outdoor areas. We see extensions to bedrooms or garages. We see, slight tweaks or amendments to interior and options that people select based on their lifestyle and how they want to use the home. So it is really an open-ended sort of question, because you can do whatever you want to.
So on that, topic of being able to pretty much customize everything, how much would a fully customized home add to somebody's budget?
Yeah, how long's a piece of string?
I know it's a hard one to answer, but if we can ballpark figure.
It's almost impossible to answer. And again, it depends on what you're customizing. Extensions are going to be more costly than relocating something from one side of the bedroom to the other. So it really depends on what you're trying to do. That's why our consultants will ask about budget and price point at the beginning, because we want to give you really good advice. We want to give you the right feedback as to what you can achieve for your budget. As far as if you were fully customizing a home, if you were doing a completely from scratch, that's where custom building comes into it. As a project builder like McDonald Jones, we're working and starting with one of our base plans, and then we're getting that to a point where somebody's really comfortable, really happy to move forward.
Let's move on to kitchens, because they, a kitchen sells a home. So, Frank, what design features do you think people should prioritize in their kitchens to really give it that wow factor?
Wow factor. I think the island bench being 1200 wide is a nice wow factor. Standard is usually around the 900 mil wide, but the 1.2 makes it
is
really...
that 90 centimeters?
90 centimeters, yeah. So, but 1200, which is 1.2 meters wide, it makes it really grand and luxurious. Yeah. Also, looking at appliances is always a big thing that people like to look at.
Like an induction cooktop?
Induction cooktop or double ovens is a real popular thing at the moment.
We're seeing a lot of integrated fridges as well.
Integrated fridges, yeah.
I've also heard that a butler's pantry, sadly I don't have one of those, but it's a pretty game-changing feature. When you do start to think about, you said 1200 wide feels luxurious. A butler's pantry to me feels luxurious.
Yep.
Do you think that is the trend of the moment? And I guess what percentage of your buyers are putting this into their home?
Yeah, I think for us at Fowler Homes, it's probably 80-90% of buyers put the butler's pantry in.
Wow.
It's a very high rate. And
what are they putting in there?
Mainly just joinery and a sink. However, half of that would probably put another set of appliances in as a secondary cooking area.
Okay.
So that they keep the main kitchen as a show kitchen and clean, and then have all the work done in the back butler's area.
That is lush, is it not?
It is.
I guess much like that multi-gen living piece we spoke about before, is a butler's pantry a provision that you need to think about from the very get-go? Or again, is it something that you can kind of start the build and go, oh, I might like to add that?
You would have to have it from the outset because of the plumbing requirements in the slab, hot and cold water, any electricity that you need to bring in for ovens and so forth. So it's definitely something that you'd have to think of at the start. If you were to put it in later, you would just have some restrictions on those type of things. So you might you'd be able to have joinery, but you wouldn't be able to have like sinks and cooking appliances.
To that point, Frank, yes, you do need to plan for it, but if you don't want to pay for it through the builder or you don't want to do it right away, just having the hot cold provisions, the waste drainage point, a lot of people we see put those things in so that they can complete the work at a later date, because then the plumbing's already in the slab. So, there are ways around it if you don't want to go the whole hog at the beginning, but it's certainly something you still need to consider and plan for.
Nathan, what is the one kitchen trend that you're seeing at the moment that if someone is on a budget, what would you prioritize?
Well, definitely appliances. You need appliances to be able to cook and to use the kitchen. But, realistic, it could be anything. It could be a big bench. It could be glass in the joinery, in the cabinetry. It could be polyurethane instead of laminate for the cabinetry and the joinery. A really, really good tip for somebody on a budget is to put a PowerPoint in the island bench. We see it all the time where, when you're making a cake or something and you want to be able to utilize that bench properly. Because this island bench concept, yes, it's been around for a few years now, but it's still relatively new in building terms. And I think people are really just starting to work out how to utilize it best. Our island benches, I'm sure yours are the same, Frank, where they overhang and you've got a breakfast bar and you can sit at the breakfast bar. But having a PowerPoint inside there, at least gives you the flexibility and the options to do things that you want to do when those special moments come, like making a cake or
There
whatever.
is actually nothing more frustrating than having a PowerPoint in the corner. Right. And you have to bring all your things over to this little corner.
That's
and
right.
then you're constrained for space.
Yeah.
But you turn around and you've got all this empty space here, but you can't use it because there's no PowerPoint.
And that's why future planning is so important, because that's a tip that is going to cost you less than $100, but it's going to save you a lot of headaches later on.
Yeah, lots.
Yeah.
Outdoor kitchens becoming more of a trend in that outdoor space?
Definitely. We're seeing a lot of people putting in brickwork for the barbecue to go against, putting provisions for hot and cold water and for gas so that they can connect the barbecue later in the future.
Okay, so next is the bedrooms, and how the main bedroom, it feels like it's just gone totally lavish in some homes. Frank, what is the priority for your buyers in this space?
I think having a wow wardrobe, a big lavish wardrobe is a real big not necessity, but a want, and something that we're seeing a lot of buyers designing with us, like where you could have like a good, better, best type scenario. So you could have an affordable fit out. You could have like a medium, fit out, or you can go the Rolls Royce fit out.
What's a Rolls Royce?
Well, we have a Power Paris on display at Homeworld Box Hill, and that's fully fitted out with glass shelving. You can see all your handbags, your shoes, an island where you can have your jewelry seen on the island.
That for me is when the want would outweigh the need.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we see that. We see that a lot.
Yeah.
So, I think that gives a really like luxury and wow. Like when you walk into a bedroom, you see a beautiful fit out of wardrobe, and then, accompanied by an amazing bathroom, it just finishes it off. So
that's hotel vibes.
It is. Yeah. It is.
That's what everybody wants.
That's
exactly.
Right.
Even though design has come a very long way, a design trend that is, I guess, relatively new is the home office space. Quite a lot of people have been working at home for 5 years now, which is really hard to believe. But that kind of leads me to think that the home office is here to stay. What do you think about that trend, Frank?
Definitely. We're seeing that all the time. And if they can't fit a home office, study nooks are a very big trend as well. The last 5 years, we've definitely seen everybody putting at least 1 or 2 study areas in the home or a home office.
1 or 2 study areas in the home, that home office thing, that's really nice. But I'm finding that the trends I'm seeing is that people just needs to be that multifunction space. Yeah. So Frank, can you tell us what is the definition, I guess, of a multifunctional space?
Well, I suppose you could have an office that can double up as that room could be a guest bedroom, could be a kid's playroom. So if you've got young children, and then later as they go to school, you convert it to a home office. As you get older, you convert it to a guest bedroom. So I think that's what the purpose of that multi-space is.
Well, it's almost like you've got your home office and then you've got a Murphy bed.
That's
that
right.
can come down from
the wall.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you then advise people get the most out of their space?
Well, I think it's just about thinking about how, and asking the right questions. There's a lot to cover off when you're building a home. And so you really got to have a really good, thorough consultation process with the customer about how they want to live, because then you can match them up with a design or, a room in some cases that you can double. I think what Frank said was really powerful in the sense that, the home should evolve as people evolve and as families evolve so that they get the most out of it.
Yeah, I think you nailed it there, because it's future-proofing your home. So whilst you do want a kid's playroom now, you don't want a kid's playroom in 5 years
That's right.
to 10 years. So what can it become after that? Nathan, have you seen any clever ways that people are designing these multifunctional spaces that you've thought are really innovative, or are people kind of just sticking to what we've already spoken about?
Look, at the moment, it is the simple things that work. Like simplicity is, I think, the best thing you can do when building a home. If you try and get too fancy and too technical, you've got to remember all of our plans are designed by an architect. And when you start fiddling around with those spaces, it can have a domino effect. It can change a lot of other things that you may not have thought about, such as light and flow. So sticking to the basics is really important. Theatre rooms, children activity rooms that, can be used as, you can put a pool table in there if you want to when the kids are older. When they're younger, it's a play area. It's mats and cushions and things. Could be a library. As you get older, one space, like I said before, if the bones are really solid and the room can be changed and evolve over time, that's the key. Yeah.
We did say before that like an ensuite is a given, right? Yes. But is it always a given that it is that really luxe feel, or are some design trends still kind of hitting those basic needs, like freestanding bathtubs, rainfall showers, organic materials? Are they a given? Is this a trend we're just seeing as standard?
Not necessarily, because sometimes you can find on space. So depending on the size of the ensuite and the home, some people would like ensuites to every bedroom. So then obviously they're going to be smaller. We always try and make the master that more luxurious, and as much as possible try and fit that bathtub, double vanity, nice large shower, so you're not hitting the screens and people are taking that up more and more these days.
Nathan, what is your easygoing way to making a bathroom feel like that luxe without spending too much money? What would you prioritize?
That's a really good question. Freestanding bath really gives it that hotel feel, that luxurious feel. And I think it's a really easy thing to achieve on a budget. With us, again, it's standard. So it's something that people can get for no extra. Double vanities are all the rage and have been for quite a number of years now as well. It's probably got something to do with the man being a little bit messier than, than their partner, and it's certainly the case in my household. So having the dual vanities it definitely helps. You can see who clearly has made the mess or not. But that sort of stuff is the stuff that is a given. Double bowl vanities, stone bench tops, freestanding baths. Great natural light can really impact in a positive way.
I agree.
So there's really simple things you can do when you're on a budget.
Space is a constraint we all kind of experience. Dual story layouts seem to be having a real moment in design at the moment, and it almost feels like no one's even building a single story home anymore. So Frank, how are you designing dual story? What goes on the bottom floor? What goes on the top floor?
Generally on the ground floor, you'd have your garage, your entry, and your living spaces. So your family meals, kitchen area, home office, dining, al fresco. And on the first floor, you have your bedrooms and a leisure area is always nice. If someone's got water views or they've got they're living near the water or the mountains, they sometimes like to reverse and put the living areas on the first floor
to maximize the view
and have a nice big sort of al fresco balcony to the rear overlooking the views. However, most times it's living areas on the ground floor.
Nathan, is there anything else you think people should consider when they're dual story?
It's certainly become more prevalent and it's certainly become a lot more popular, but mainly because of the land sizes. Here in Sydney, it's a lot smaller, but across the board, land is getting smaller and it's getting more expensive per square metre. And so for people to maximise that block of land, instead of cramming everything onto one floor, you go up and make sure that you tick all the boxes. But the majority of people just want living spaces, a variety of living spaces, children activity, family rooms, media rooms, leisure rooms, like Frank said. Like there are so many things that you can do. I guess the most important thing to do is to work out what's really important to you. And, generally speaking, it's about maximizing the space or maximizing the view. So there's external factors and there's internal factors depending on what you're trying to achieve.
One consideration that I can think of, and tell me if I'm off here, but if somebody is building a home and let's just say they are entering their later years of life and they kind of see that being their forever home, do you ever suggest that these people put like the bedrooms on the bottom floor? Because as people age, it's just natural that your ability to go up and down stairs frequently does diminish. So in order for them to be able to stay there, are you building or are you seeing that master retreat on the bottom?
Yeah, you're 100% right. It's becoming a lot more popular. If it's not a master suite, I mean, we have 4 or 5 designs with a master suite on the ground floor for that exact reason. But if it's not a master suite, for example, there's guest bedrooms or options for a guest bedroom with an ensuite, and that then can double so that people can live on the ground floor as they get older. They don't want to go up and down the stairs.
Well, it just means they don't have to move.
That's right. And they can do it in a cost-effective way too, where you could have the dual two-way bathroom. So you could have the powder room be the ensuite to that bedroom as well. So that you're not cleaning 2 bathrooms or you're not spending the money on 2 bathrooms for so many years until you move into it.
Frank, what do you think is one modern convenience that just all homes should have?
I think technology, if you look at
smart tech,
I think it's become more and more affordable now. I mean, many years ago it was so expensive with CBus and Control 4, but now you got a lot of new products which you could have on your smartphone. You can control your air conditioning, your cameras. I think everybody wants cameras now in their homes. Alarm, you can turn your alarm off and on. Your garage door, you could.
And you don't even have to be at your home.
You don't have to be at your home. So I think it's a convenience. I think it's a modern, and the way we're going with AI and with the future, I think it's
everybody wants luxury now, right?
Everybody.
Well, I can understand that. Now, are there any other major trends that you're seeing emerge in the home space, Nathan? Is there anything that you think is going to be big in the next couple of years that perhaps we haven't captured?
For sure. There's a whole conversation around sustainability. There's a whole conversation around future-proofing the home to make sure that, they're more energy efficient. A couple of years ago, the building industry was sort of forced to make those changes through the 7-star compliance as a minimum requirement here in New South Wales. But that's already a requirement, down in Victoria and Queensland to make sure that homes and new homes are meeting that minimum energy efficiency standard, what we call basics. So, 7-star, very, very important. Sustainability, very important. But we're seeing a huge uptake in solar and double glazing. So we've put together a green pack to help people, because the number one thing we hear about all the time is that everybody wants to be sustainable. That's certainly gotten a huge response rate, a very, very positive response rate.
Frank, what about you? Any big trend that you think is going to take off?
I think the same as what Nathan's saying. It's all around the energy efficiency of the home. But on a design point of view, I think that multi-gen is going to really skyrocket.
Well, I think that's what makes building a new home so appealing, because you're not working with existing stock. You actually can build something to your exact taste. When do you typically need to make these important design decisions? We spoke a bit about the bigger provisions needing to be made up front before you even begin. Is that for everything?
It's hard to capture everything up front. However, I think, with our consultants, they're trained to, sit down and really listen to what the customer's asking, get that list together, see the home they like, and try and bring it together. And then at a next appointment, they might refine that a bit. But they will get to that by the time that the soil tests and the plans and everything's done, we would have most of that captured. Yeah,
but what if someone changes their mind?
Most project home builders would have a process that allows people to do that. So
change their mind.
Well, from the very first meeting, you want to start to capture 80% of the changes. You want to make sure you get as much as possible so that we can give you a free quote. We can tell you what it's going to cost you, really get you thinking about those sorts of things. And then once you move forward, it's not the last opportunity to make those changes. we actually have another appointment with the consultant at that point to refine everything and do the next 15%, get a little bit closer, and make sure that we're pretty much on the money. And then we've got one final opportunity once they've seen their plans, once they've seen what it all looks like based on what they've asked for. That's the last opportunity then, just to make those final tweaks and make sure that we get it all right. But there are quite a number of meetings and appointments that happen before that. Before we put the line in the sand and say this.
Good, because I feel like I'd be the customer who's constantly thinking about new things and constantly changing their mind throughout
Everybody
the process.
is, and that's right. Why we do it this way.
Thank you both so much for coming on. I've learned a lot, and I hope our audience has too. So thank you.
Thank you
for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for joining me. This has been Real Talk. For your weekly fix, please follow wherever you listen to your podcasts and tune in next time for more real questions, news and insights on the topics that matter most from realestate.com.au, Australia's #1 address in property. All information provided is general advice and opinion based on current market conditions. These opinions should not be treated as investment advice. Always obtain advice based on your individual circumstances.
Real Talk acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, air and community. We pay our respects to elders past and present.